Everyone thinks the Sena 20S Evo is outdated because it lacks mesh and still charges over micro USB. But here's the thing, old tech is not the same as bad tech, especially when it's stable, predictable, and cheaper. During 4 weeks of testing, I logged 1,200 miles across city traffic, highway slogs at 80 mph, a rainy Sunday, and a 6-rider group ride. And what I discovered will either save you money or save you a headache. I went in expecting dropouts and frustration. I came out with a very specific verdict you need to hear before you hit buy. Before we dive into what I discovered on that group ride and in the rain, quick heads up. If you're already leaning yes and want the best current price, I've dropped a link below. But hang tight because a couple of my findings flipped the usual advice on its head. I needed a communicator that didn't turn into a full-time tech support job. My cheap starter unit failed at highway speeds, my GPS prompts stepped on my music, and phone calls were a wind tunnel. I do daily solo commutes, occasional 2-up rides with my passenger, and once or twice a month I join a medium-sized group. I wanted simple pairing, clear intercom, and enough volume to hear podcasts at 70-80 mph with earplugs. I had tried a friend's mesh unit on a big ride. It was great in a crowd, but overkill and pricey for my week-to-week. The 20S Evo looked like the budget-smart middle ground, but I was skeptical. Bluetooth chains are supposed to be fragile, voice commands can be finicky, and a micro USB port in 2026 feels like a throwback. So I strapped it on 2 helmets, updated the firmware, and set out to see where it holds up and where it doesn't. First, solo commute testing. Pairing my iPhone and a Garmin Zumo for nav was straightforward. The jog dial is a joy with gloves, 1 twist for volume, push for phone, quick taps for intercom. Music quality through the included speakers is decent with a snug full-face helmet. On my Shui at 75 mph with foam plugs, I needed 90-100% volume for podcasts, but music stayed clean without harshness. The audio multitasking is the sleeper feature. GPS prompts duck the music instead of killing it, and intercom overlays without awkward pauses. But then, voice commands. Hello Sena worked in my full face up to about 60 mph, past that wind noise confused it. I found it faster to use the dial. Battery life surprised me, 2 long days totaling 12.5 hours of mixed music and calls before it finally tapped out. A 2-hour top-off got me back to near full. 2-up with a passenger, the intercom is the 20S Evo at its best. At 65-70 mph behind a touring screen, conversation felt natural. The noise reduction keeps your buddy's wind roar under control without clipping speech. We ran music quietly underneath and it didn't step on the chat, but then we swapped helmets to a more open ADV lid. The boom mic still handled it, but you'll want careful mic placement and the included foam wind sock to keep consonants crisp. Group ride, 6 riders, mixed brands. This is where every Bluetooth unit shows its true colors. We set up a 5-way chain on 20S Evos and added 1 universal intercom connection to a Cardo. Line of sight on a rural highway, we held clear comms around 0.6-0.7 miles before edges softened. In the hills with trees and traffic, practical range dropped to 0.2-0.3 miles. When someone dropped out of the chain by missing a turn, the 20S Evo reconnected in a few seconds once back in range, especially with the fixed shark fin antenna oriented upright. But then the universal intercom link was the weak link. Audio was thinner and reconnects took longer. If your crew is mixed brands and you ride tight and disciplined, it's workable. If you spread out or ride in dense city grids, expect more managing than riding. One more note, we tried an 8-person chain briefly. It worked, but any break in the middle forced a few beats of silence while the links restitched. Weather and durability, 45 minutes in steady rain, no drama. The 20S Evo is water resistant, not IP rated like some rivals, but with the charge port flap closed it kept going. The clamp mount felt secure on both helmets, and the wired mic option is cleaner for full-face setups. The micro USB port, annoying in 2026, yes, but at least it supports charging while operating if you need a quick battery rescue at a gas stop. Here's where it gets interesting. I expected the 20S Evo to feel like a compromise everywhere. It's not. The big discovery is how rock solid it is for the actual use case most riders have. 1 or 2 people or a small, tight group. In that world, Bluetooth isn't the enemy. It's simpler, battery-friendly, and the audio multitasking makes daily rides calmer. After 30 days of back-to-back testing, I had fewer gotchas than with early mesh systems I've used that can be fussy when half the group forgets to update firmware. The fixed fin antenna on the Evo absolutely helps stability compared to the old 20S I used years ago. And while the speakers aren't marketed as JBL branded or anything flashy, they're competent if your helmet is quiet and your fit is snug. Against mesh alternatives from Sena's 50 series or Cardo's Packtalk line, the 20S Evo loses in big, spread-out groups and in rainproof bragging rights. It also loses on modern niceties like USB-C, but it wins on price to value for commuters, pillion riders, and small crews who prioritize predictable behavior over feature lists. Now that you know where the 20S Evo shines and where it stumbles, the next step is easy. If your riding looks like mine most weeks, grab it while prices are favorable before spring stock tightens and deals dry up. Links in the description for the best current price I could find. Bottom line, the Sena 20S Evo is not the newest, and that's the point. Buy it if you mostly ride solo or two-up, want reliable phone, music, and nav with occasional small group comms, and prefer a simple jog dial over menu diving. Skip it if you regularly ride in big, spaced-out groups or demand modern touches like mesh, USB-C, and an IP rating. Look at Sena 20S 50R or Cardo's mesh options instead. For the right rider, the 20S Evo gets out of the way and lets you ride. That's the win no spec sheet can fake.